Hi everyone, today we're going to see about mixing some greens. So, good things to have: a spray bottle of water, and my stepdad always said label everything, so this says H2O on it. You need your paints, and you also need to know what colors you have in your paints. So it's nice to make a little chart, and you can just use Q-tips for each color and then show the darkest parts and then show what it looks like when you've added more water, so you have that. If you use tubes, I have squeezed out some tube colors here, and again, can't always tell what color it is until you do this. So again, with Q-tips, the darkest, and then going to the lightest with more water. So this is a great watercolor palette. I've already got some color on there, so I'm just gonna keep it neat here and show it like this. And I'd like to demonstrate how to mix some greens. When I get a good green, I either keep it in the palette for future use, or sometimes I put them in these little cups. I've got these in plastic, I've got these in porcelain, you can also store it in, any container that you like. There was some good mochi in here at one time. So, water and a brush. What's the spray bottle for? Well, before you begin, you want to make sure that your colors are moist. So you give them a little spray, and then if you do reuse your palette like this, you would give it a spray to moisten things back up again so that you can use it in watercolor. So you can just get some water happening right away, and then it just makes the color fluid again. So mixing greens is the topic today after that long intro. I do have a variety of greens here because if I see a green that I don't recognize, I buy it. I buy the tube. I'm always interested also in what colors granulate. So sometimes you see that kind of granulation happening. So that's always a plus for me. So I'm always trying out different colors. There's some nice granulation. And not all colors granulate, or sometimes they granulate to a different degree. So whether you're using pan watercolors, this happens to be the Yarka brand, Yarka. They're nice and moist, they're bright colors, they're Russian, they're wonderful. And or tube colors, my favorite brands are both David Smith and Winsor Newton. Those are very reliable watercolors. Whatever you're using, you can never have enough greens. They give you two beautiful greens here in this pack, but you need a variety of greens if you're going to be doing anything with plant life. So I've got some watercolor paper over here, and sometimes it's nice to give a little spray. Mixing colors. You take a color that is just not green enough, like this, and then in a palette, in any kind of little well, you just put some color, and then I'm rinsing out my brush, and then I'm taking another color to change it up. Usually for a green, you can change it up nicely by adding a little bit of brown to it, or a little bit of orange, or a little bit of yellow. And any yellow, I have a couple of different yellows here. So I can grab any yellow and just see what the color change is. And then I'm putting it in here and mixing it. And then I can kind of see it because the palette is white, but I'm going to test it. And it's like, okay, that's a good green. I'm keeping that. I'm going to kind of squeeze out my brush on the side so that I have a fair amount in there. Could be more, but we're good for now. Moving on. If you wanted to be really organized, you could also say, okay, when I mix this with this, I get this color. When I mix this, you can make a whole chart. Not everyone loves to do that, but you can also just sort of collect them on the side there. So you put it on, you test it. So let's just take that same. It's very turquoisey, and I'm using that on purpose because often the color you get in a set is more that color. And if you use that color for plants, it will not look natural. So here's the turquoise as is, and I'm going to put that turquoise again in here. I'm squeezing out my brush because I don't want to wash it all out in the water. And then I'm giving it a rinse. And now I'm going to try a teeny bit of the orange. Now this could also be done with these, just the exact same way. And with this teeny bit of orange, I'm going to mix it in there. And then I'm going to visually look at it. And when I visually look at it, it's kind of orangey brown. So I want to change that up. That orange happens to be a strong color, so I'm going to give it a rinse. I'm going to go back into the turquoisey one, and I'm going to squeeze it into here because I want to get as much out of it as possible. Then give a stir, and now let's test it. All right, well, it's a beautiful color. It might be good for shadows of leaves. I also like that in this case the two pigments separate just a teeny bit, and that could be a very effective thing in watercolor. So I'm going to hang on to that color. All right, I feel like I'd like to try another green, and maybe we'll look at the pan watercolors here. So again, this is the green that's usually problematic, so you want to add an orange or a yellow to it. If you happen to have a green that's, it's already got maybe a little more of the yellow hue in it, you can also alter that one. So we can take a little bit of that. I've already sprayed it. I'm going to put it in here, squeeze it out. You can do this on any palette. If I were working on here, I could also squeeze it out on the edge. And then when you get as much out as possible, you just rinse the brush. And to this one, I'm going to add, let's add more yellow. So I'm adding this bright yellow to it. I'm squeezing it into here. Now there's a trick that I didn't show yet. So I'm going to do it like this, and then show you what color it is. It's a beautiful color. It's a beautiful color. And it's different than that one. We want different greens, and that's what we're after here. Now, what's on my brush, I'm going to just squeeze that out because you don't want to waste the pigment. And again, I'm going to rinse. This time I'm going to start with yellow. I'm starting with the lightest color, and I want my brush clean because I don't want to dirty up my yellow. However, if it does get dirty, you can wipe it out. And by the way, when I did this, I used Q-tips for each color so that I just, could do the colors nice and clean like that. Okay, so now I've got yellow on the brush. I'm going to start a new one with just yellow. And then I'm going to go back to this green that I had before and just take a little bit of it. And when I mix it, I've made an even lighter green this time, more of a yellower green. And you can use that in paintings as well. And if it needs more, you've still got that one, and you can just mix that in. You can go back and forth. Then they'll be the same and you want to adjust it. But you can just keep adjusting. Now, don't forget, last thing, watercolor tips. You can grab a little bit of any color. In this case, I'm going to go back to that original green, and I'm going to put it in this wet yellow, and it will just mix on the paper a little bit. As it dries, you'll see a variety of color. If I add a little water to this, you can see that the effects will be amazing. All right, so mix your paints. Get a variety of colors there. You can do it on any of them. And this can become a beautiful tropical looking background, or the greens of Ireland, or landscapes, or whatever it is you're doing, leaves with a variety of greens. Okay, see you soon.